Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper that is 18th July 2017. The first article after globalization promise by Mr. Balakrishnan. You have to remember one thing. When we see the issues on temporal line over a long periods, we can understand certain patterns. Globalization is one such a phenomenon. When seen over long tracks of time, you can definitely see cycles. Here, if you observe, the colonialism is a kind of a globalization too. But however, the contours are different from yesterday to today. In early days, it is the capital from Europe that came to United States, India, and other African countries. And this capital has mobilized the labor, created opportunities, and has led to the development of rail infrastructure, etc. At every stage, this globalization is facilitated by the technology. So, early days of globalization are promoted by the technologies such as telegram, combustion engine development, etc. And this further have led to increased connectivity that made the trade to flourish. Now, in 21st century, yes, the globalization is facilitated by information technology. But this globalization is on a much faster scale, and at the same time by 2008 financial crisis it started reversing. So the common factor for the globalization push is the global demand for the commodities. So that's why whenever there is globalization, there is an upbeat in the trade. But once the globalization recedes, the trade is going to decrease. Then how the countries shall handle this? How they have handled before? That is through promotion of the domestic demand. So this is what is the case with regard to the growth of the United States of America is concerned. India also has to work towards promotion of this domestic demand. If it has to occur, the free flow of money and production shall happen within the country. In India, if you observe the existing policy stance, either it is monetary policy or fiscal policy, the government and RBI are more looking for tightening rather than loosening. And added to that, the twin balance sheet problem is there for India. So here, the banks are suffering from NPAs and companies are suffering from debts. So obviously, the private investments are not expected to increase in the immediate future. So the way forward is shift towards the public investments. And the shift towards the public investments can only happen if fiscal limits are being relaxed. And the second is the public investment shall majorly go into infrastructure. If you see the previous era of globalization, railways have provided for the connectivity and growth. And infrastructure can create value and wealth across the country rather than confining it to some places. So the way forward for India at this juncture of times is to raise public investment focused on the infrastructure. That's what is the central aspect of this article. High stakes in Bihar's political battle. Now, corruption and clean image are related to the perceptions of the people. So, in history of India, corruption charges have made the leaders to lose power. Rajiv Gandhi lost power to VP Singh. VP Singh became prime minister by putting forward the Bofors scandal, which has not been proven till date. So that's the reason why. If a clean image is tarnished, ultimately it leads to the demise of the leader and the party. This is what is the fight between Mr. Nitish Kumar, Chief Minister of Bihar, and RJD, Lalu Prasad Yadav's son, Mr. Tejasvi Yadav, who is the Deputy Chief Minister. So that's where one chief person is trying to protect clean image and the other person is trying to play the victim card if he's been thrown out of the government. So in this process, the opposition unity is coming under question. Finally, it will strengthen the government rather than weakening the rather than strengthening the opposition. So that's what is the concern of this article. Easing the rhetoric. It is about India-China standoff which is continuing at Doklam Plateau. Remember the fundamental point with regard to Doklam Plateau. So it is a territory in dispute between Bhutan and China. So India is in standoff by supporting the Bhutan as they enjoy an agreement. So that also shows deep connections that exist between India and Bhutan. So here, the China is trying to test these relationships, trying to put this relationship for a test, and India has stood firmly on side of the Bhutan. So in this process, India shall not do any mistake by making or by not communicating the issues to Bhutan. So the Thimphu has to be kept in loop on every action decision India is going to take. And second is building the consensus or local consensus is also very critical. So what I mean here is building collective opinion among the political parties can provide for a bipartisan support for the government's action, which is very much necessary in the national interest. Next is, let's go to the Suhasini Haidar's article, that is, Spaces Not Embraces. Let's understand Mr. Trump's worldview. So the United States' strategic position across the world is shrinking, and President himself is endorsing this particular shrink. He sees the global affairs as more transactional rather than strategic. So if you see in his visit, that is to Saudi Arabia, so finally it has led to conflict in the region, where the imposition of sanctions against Qatar and isolation of the Iran, which can put India again in pressure. And if you see South China Sea dispute, the US rhetoric has decreased in intensity after Trump has become the prime minister. So it has to ensure the freedom of navigation. The word ensure is been removed. Symbolically reiterates is the word which has come into existence. That shows the softening of the stand. Either it is Trans-Pacific Partnership or relations in West Asia, everything clearly shows that Mr. Trump is not interested in America playing the greater role in global affairs. So in this context, moving away from climate change has dented India's interests. His protectionist attitude in trade is also going against the India's interests. So AFPAC policy, which America is going to unveil tomorrow in this month, probably it is going to give greater space to the local powers rather than it keeping its strategic position. So the Russia, Pakistan and China alliance, which is growing to stabilize the Afghanistan, is expected to gain much importance rather than India's interest in Afghanistan. And Trump is also expected to reduce the number of forces, American troops on the Afghan soil. Second, coming to Iran, so India playing onto the side of the United States of America obviously has irked Iran, and it has led to Iran inviting China to participate in Chabahar port, which is strategically important for India to connect to Afghanistan. And also with Farzad B oil fields, where ONGC Videsh is expected to get a deal, is been given out to Gazprom of Russia. So this is, India has to rebalance its strategic opinions. The post-IS proxy war. So now ISIS got defeated in Mosul. It takes no time to get it defeated in the other places. But however, another big war is awaiting. So it is between Assad and rebels, where the rebels are supported by Saudi Arabia, United States of America. Assad regime is supported by Iran, Hezbollah and Russia. So it means it is a cold war between Russia and USA, Iran and Saudi Arabia. And this is expected to get intense once the ISIS, which is a common enemy, vacates its space. That's what this article is trying to push us. And then the government review report on SDGs presented at United Nations High-Level Political Forum is being criticized. So the High-Level Political Forum, so it is meant to review this, that is Sustainable Development Goals. From Indian side, Niti Aayog has provided for voluntary national review report to the committee. So in this case, it has given a positive side, bright side of India. But on the other side, the NGOs which are not been, have prepared an alternative report. The NGO name is Vada Na Todona. So this has clearly stated that the Indian government has wrongly projected the facts. It has stated the poverty has come down, but inequalities have risen. It has stated farmers' incomes are expected to be doubled, the farming income is increasing, and the insurance is providing for protection to them. On the other hand, farmer suicides have also increased. On the health, maternal mortality, infant mortality, nutrition, all this, India is not shown substantial improvements, which has not been presented by the Niti Aayog. That's what this article is talking about. Now, let's get into the news page. Venkaiah Naidu is the NDA's pick for vice president, and center no to Supreme Court appeal on world notes. So the Supreme Court has asked for the extension of the time for the foreigners to, or for Indians abroad to deposit their notes, which is not extended by the Supreme Court, was considered by the center. And then center seeks debate on Supreme Court on Jammu and Kashmir special status. You know that in 1954, by presidential order, the Jammu and Kashmir special status has come into existence as a temporary provision. So, President of India can extend any constitutional position or constitutional law to the Jammu and Kashmir after consultation with the state government. Now, the central government wants to review this position vis-a-vis the Jammu and Kashmir, which is given under Article 370. So it was also for a reason that High Court of Jammu and Kashmir stated that the Article 370 is a permanent. Any attempt to amend the Article 370 or remove Article 370 is arbitrary and unconstitutional. In this context, a review is asked by the government in the Supreme Court. Now coming to the newspaper 2. So naval drill has come to an end. That is Malabar 2000 between India, Japan and USA has come to an end. That's what this article talks about. Finally, I gave you the notes at the last page, that is laix.in/civils prep. You can collect these notes from. Thank you very much and all the best.